listening to the Balancing Act podcast. Here's your hosts, Jamie Wonko and Joe Vitale.
Hello, and welcome back to the officially recording podcast.
Oh, nice.
The Balancing Act. Hello there, Mr. Vitale. I'm Jamie Wonko. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine there, Miss Wonko. I'm having a wonderful day today. It's just a wonderful day. I have my my salmon colored shirt on. I'm enjoying some hopefully nicer weather soon. Although I'm tired of standing outside in children's sporting events and freezing. A few years ago, my wife got me a Amazon find. It was a battery operated heated jacket.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned that before.
And it is glorious.
So doesn't that keep you toasty?
It does keep me toasty. But it's still cold because I'm a wuss when it comes to the cold. Yeah, and it's just nice that we are officially in springtime. Big ups to spring.
Springtime.
All
Ding-a-ling-a-ling time.
All pollen all the time. What are you looking forward to? What are you looking forward to this spring there, buddy? What are you looking forward to?
What am I looking forward to this spring? Well, I was doing, as I often do at this time of year, I like to do how many weeks of school are left, exactly what it is that I want to accomplish before the end of the school year, how many weeks.
I like it.
And then I like to make it's very fancy. I take like a 8.5 by 11, copy paper page, and I just make enough, and I kind of plan it out so that I can see exactly how many weeks. And then also all the things that are going to come up in between as far as class trips or celebrations or just anything else that might, testing, of course, testing, 1, 2, 3, all the testing that comes through. So I like to map out, how many topics I have left to cover and what are the things that are most important for me to get to. And then, kind of be able to say, all right, well, this is how many days we really have. And, so we're kind of just getting ready for the, if not, tipping right over into our last marking period.
Which is crazy. It's
Yeah.
just, this year, I don't know. I don't know if you feel the same way, but this year more than any, it's like I blink and here we are. I feel like we are just in September, and I'm never one for wishing time away. I really, don't, I don't want to do that because, you want to enjoy and be in the moment. When you're with your family, when you're with your friends, you want to enjoy that time, but like it just goes so quickly this year. So it's crazy to think that we're almost into that fourth marking period time frame.
It is. It's
what
crazy.
are some so you talked about work stuff. Like what are you looking to accomplish work wise by the end of the year? Just like projects and stuff like that?
We did mega project. That was a project that the three of us that all teach the same subject in 8th grade. We did a mega project together, and the kids. It was like backed by popular demand. All three of us have been asked multiple times. Four, because one of the classes has 2 teachers in it. Well, they're together like how you are. They're together 3 out of the 4 classes that he teaches. So there are 4 of us for majority of the day. And so I have to say, like, the kids just keep asking, can we do that again? Are we going to do that again? So like none of us can ignore that, the absolute, interest that the kids have. So we already know when we're doing it again.
That's great. It's good.
Yeah.
It's great to lean into that too. Like if the kids really want to do it, like not to change the subject, but I just did a mock trial with my students. And I told them like, I have others, like they really enjoyed it. And I was like, I want to do those with you. I said, I got some things I need to accomplish with you guys, but like, we'll do another one. I got one about Goldilocks and the 3 bears. I got one, and they're very
They love
excited.
the mock trial.
And they've even come in a couple times like, hey, are we doing that trial thing again? I'm like, we're going to get to it. I promise. I'm not just saying that. We are going to do another mock trial, but I need to
But when?
That's the thing. I need to do the same thing that you did. Like I need to sit down and look it over because I also have things I want to accomplish by the end of the year. Normally now is when I start diving into in a deeper fashion when we do DBQs.
Mm-hmm.
And the DBQ project book that we have, because I like to do those because I think it gives students a good idea about their writing and finding their voice. And what I also like about it is it teaches students that you need to know multiple sides of the argument in order to make your argument stronger. So if you're going to argue that, I use an example of, if you're going to argue that the fifth Harry Potter book is the most influential one to the story, then you have to stick with that, but also know why the other ones aren't as strong. Like, you have to know, like, the resources and the information behind it. So I work with them through that process, and I enjoy it. I enjoy doing the writing with them and to try to teach them the process, because I also try to say, like, you might do these in the 8th grade. You also might decide you wanna take an AP course in the high school, and they're like, because they offer world history AP for freshmen in the district that we work in, and a lot of them were, like, kinda looking at me, and I was like, they're like, "Why are you talking about a freshman class? Like, we're in 7th grade." I'm like, "Well,
'Cause
by
you're on
this
your way.
time, yeah, by this time next year, you'll have made your 8th grade schedule.
Right.
So we might as well start exposing you to some of the things in a smaller fashion of what
Absolutely.
you're gonna see so you can make an informed decision. I'm a
Oh,
good
yeah.
writer. I'm a critical thinker. Therefore, I can take this challenging course."
Mhm.
Or, "I'm not good at this, so I'm not going to." That's a good thing to know.
Right.
Um,
Or it's something I really wanna get better at.
yeah. What
It's
about
something that I wanna work
yeah,
to improve.
absolutely. And what is something personally you wanna do this spring? What are you looking to do? Looking forward to?
What am I looking forward to this spring? Well, I have some theater that I'm going to be seeing, and I'm very much looking forward to that. Just getting some tickets for Legally Blonde, the musical.
Very nice.
So I'm excited about that. And last year, I actually planted a garden, and things actually grew.
Oh,
So I'll be looking forward to that again. I had a lot of delicious basil, tomatoes, and some other things like that. So we'll definitely do that again. I want to put my hot tub out a little earlier this summer than I did last year.
I like it.
And so last year we had a bunch of work done on our house, so we did not put it up until after we came back because it was kind of like, why put it out and then you got to put it away. We have
Yeah.
this inflatable hot tub. Totally recommend. 10 out of 10.
Is it a game changer?
I mean, I wouldn't call it a game changer because I wouldn't want to offend anybody, but it was definitely like it was a fun birthday present a couple of years ago, and it is something that we just enjoy so much, and so it was really nice. And then we say like, oh, you have a pool, so it's like you kind of say like, yeah, I'm gonna leave it up to September, and then it's like once September comes and like just like 1,000 things back going on. But I definitely like, it was like we have to take this down. We have to have like one less thing to worry about.
Yeah, I hear you.
Um, so I definitely think that getting in on like the earlier side, so I'd like to have that. And it's just so nice to the sun to be shining, to be getting outside and having a little
Yeah.
bit more, time to walk. And I love taking walks. So just those kinds of things I'm really looking forward to. My, girls are in a show in May. So that's really exciting. So that'll be like a pretty busy thing. And then of course, like, we have um cotillion and there's just like all these different things that are
Yeah.
popping up. So I was actually in looking at, because we have 11 weeks left of the school year, 10, 11 weeks. That at this point, I don't know when this is gonna, come out, but it really is a shorter amount of time than,
Yeah.
sometimes you
Well,
think like, oh, it's gonna be long, but it's really not.
and
So
that's the thing too, as we move to close the one marking period, like, I'm already thinking like, "Okay, when we start the next one, I wanna front load, get some grading done as quickly as possible into the marking period because it ends so abruptly when we get to June."
I
Like,
mean, trade secret for me, it's not a secret, I'm sure lots of people do this, but I close every marking period a week
yeah,
early
same.
and start a week early, and, especially second marking period because the holidays come and hit the kids really hard, whether they celebrate Christmas or not, like, the season is the
Yeah.
reason to not do your homework, so or work or, that everybody just gets so distracted. So I feel like second and fourth, it's kind of like you really have to sort of get going and have like a handle on that because, and even just once the weather turns again and we start feeling the warmth, they really get
Antsy. The magical
antsy.
they start hearing the magical sound of summer, the ice cream man riding around the streets.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yes,
looking forward to, I did get my Jeep, so I have the, little, mechanical top thingy, so I'm looking forward to opening up the top. I've done it, like, on 1 or 2 warm days just to drive around a little bit.
nice,
That
nice.
was nice. I want to sneak out with our older golden retriever Darius and put him in the damn Jeep and drive down to like Island Beach State Park and just let him run around on the sand. And because I hate sand, and jump in the water because he loves the beach. I'm hoping to be able to do that
Now, how will
either
you
this spring or
prepare
this
him to
summer.
get back in your car to
Eh,
drive him back home?
I'll figure it out.
You're gonna
Um,
you're
no,
gonna,
honestly, I'll bring
like,
some.
hermetically seal him on
It's
the
no. Honestly, it's weird with dogs. Like they don't get as sandy as you would think. They kind of shake off, and everything just kind of like kind of
Nice,
goes off. It's their
nice.
paws that you worry about, and then
Yeah.
towels wipe them off.
I mean, who's the psycho, me or Joe? Let's compare. My theory is like you go to the beach, you have your stuff, you come off the beach, shake, swap, you swat a little bit at your leg, feet, get the majority off everybody. And then at the end of the summer, you go to the car wash and you vacuum all the sand away and say like goodbye, summer.
Yeah,
Um,
I wash my
Now,
car
Mr.
multiple times.
Vitale and family have been
Not anymore. We don't really do that anymore.
okay, so let's
We were
let's
when they
talk
were
about in the
younger.
heyday though, right? Because this could be a really good question for our listeners, especially those that go to the beach communities. Do you, do you spend like a good 45 minutes at your car cleaning? Or he'll say, it's not 45 minutes. But we were home and already having dinner and they were still cleaning themselves
I
off.
was
So
I
I'm
was
just curious.
that is not true.
Hmm.
Uh, but no, we did do a lot of clean off. Because my
I
daughter
know, we saw you.
my son was also like a chafe monster. So we were trying to get all this because he hates having sand in his bathing suit. So we were always like, let's get it out. And he would always do like that one last dip where he'd like run in and then he would be a breaded chicken cutlet when he got to the car. So we
Right.
would just try and get it off because it was like everywhere. But no, it just I have like a old sheet that I put in the back. I throw everything in there and then I pull the sheet out and shake it, throw it back in.
That
And
was old Joe, not new laissez-faire Joe.
I mean, when you're laissez-faire Joe, I'm taking lessons from my son, who I'm not sure is my child, because he is the most go with the flow child in the
Yeah.
history of the universe. He's just like, when Joe, you go to the kitchen, you need a suit, yeah. What do you want it to be? I don't know. I'll figure it out. Like how are you? When? Like you do
How's
know
that
it
gonna
needs to
happen?
be purchased. Like and might need to be tailored a little bit to like fit your
Oh,
so.
yes. Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the weather just being warmer, being outdoors, playing a little golf.
Yeah.
Definitely enjoying the outdoors because
I
it's been a long winter
oh,
for a
I
variety of
mean,
reasons.
it was chilly. There was definitely some chilly points. Although my, my recent gas bill would think that I live in the Biltmore Estate and that's what
Ooh,
I was, that's what I was heating up.
I know.
I am very old-fashioned. I was one of the last people to get online banking. And when I finally did it, I couldn't let go of my old system. So I do like half and half, but my system was always to make my own chart, and the chart has like all of the bills that I pay, and then all of the months. Of course, it goes from like July to June or whatever, and so I have like just in one little packet like the last 5 years of all the bills that I've paid and how much I've paid. So the other day when the gas bill came, I was like, "Say what now?
What you
Say
talking
what
about,
now?"
Willis?
Right? And I had to look like 2024, 2023, 2022, 2021, 20. It was so much more. And I understand that they are increasing it's just one of those things, but it was crazy. It was about $65 higher than it had been for the last 5 years.
It's just
Come
I don't I
on,
yeah I
come
don't yeah
on.
I and
It's
I don't want to get into a political statement, but like everybody, Democrats, Republicans, this person doesn't okay, let's start. I realize that wealth drives, economies and creates jobs, but like our companies that are like billion-dollar companies that are crying losses, but yet they're still making, you know,
please.
hand over fist on the little people like us, even though we have this gigantic podcast on human
It's so
content.
true.
Um,
I have this boy in my 4th period, and he always is like, "Miss Walker, I know you're rich." I'm like, "You do? Really?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "I just look at you, and I can tell. You've got
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
It's just so funny. And I'm like, I thank you. For him, it's like, and it's such a like, you know, compliment, and it just
Nice.
cracks me out because I'm like, are you my first grade teacher? My first grade teacher, Mrs. Del Mastro, told my parents at my conference, like the conference when they went, Jamie really needs to marry wealthy.
Oh,
Mrs. Del Mastro, she was my girl. I used to sit right next to her desk so we could chat. And she was going through a divorce. I knew all about her divorce. I knew like she was like a single, raising her daughter. It was like this whole thing at 6. So anyway, we always laugh because I'm like, damn it, Mrs. Del Mastro, I should have listened to you. Not married for love. Just kidding.
oh,
But anyway,
yeah.
I chose love. What can I
Good.
say? Right?
I mean, and that is always the right choice. So, I mean, we've been rambling on about our springs and everything else. What are we talking about today? What are we jumping into?
Springtime, that ring-a-ding-a-ding time. I do have to go back to one thing that you said earlier when you described your shirt color. What color is your shirt?
Salmon.
I just to shout out my grandmother, R.I.P. Josephine, woman for the ages, who always had to say salmon.
Salmon.
The L was never
The
silent,
L was never silent.
just like almond.
She said almond. Oh,
Almond.
that sounds weird.
I need you to go to the restaurant depot, and I need you to get me almond paste.
Yeah.
She would crank out cookies like nobody's business. Oh,
Yeah.
you made them this you
Oh
made
yeah.
them too.
Yeah. I
Yes,
do.
my grandmother would make Manuli cookies like nobody's business.
I can't even have them in the house because my son will just destroy them.
Almond.
Yeah, my son, at one point was watching Sopranos with us because it's, if you're from New Jersey, that's what you watch.
Yeah.
And he was in his Tony Soprano era and would just like,
Gabagool.
gabagool, hey, bibbidi bobbidi. It's a
Gabagool.
callback.
They
Yeah,
have a great podcast. Have you ever seen that?
I haven't
Like
listened to it,
Meadow
but I
and the
have.
other. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, I've seen some clips on,
Yeah.
on social
Bobbity
media. Yeah,
boobity.
yeah.
Bibbity bobbity. Woo.
Yeah, but so yeah, for sure. So what are we talking about, friend?
What are we talking about?
Yeah,
Huh.
I don't know.
I don't know. So, on these episodes where I like to surprise Joe with a topic, it's just always so delightful to me to watch him in anticipation of
Yes.
what
I
the
I like
topic is
I like
going
the surprise. I
to be.
ask her like, "Hey, is there anything you wanna talk about tonight?" So a lot of times we plan out what we're gonna say. We
Yeah,
do. And
we
but
do.
sometimes it's like she likes to just throw these curveballs in.
Also, we have a list, like
Keeps
we
me on
have
my
a
toes.
yeah,
Yes.
we have a list. But yeah, so I wanted to talk about a topic that has come up like several times, and I keep seeing, and I guess it's obviously it's like who you follow in the algorithm, and all of the things, but um, how many children, how many students are choosing like to take a 0 rather than try?
Ugh.
So where so something that's been coming up for me quite a bit, and it always makes me think of Scott Caldwell, someone that Joe and I had worked with for a while, and he left our district. He's still working, but in another school district, and he loved the book Grit. And then when I moved to the new school, our principal had actually like asked everyone to read that as well. But it is and I talk about this a lot with my students that the most successful people, the idea is that the most successful people are not the smartest. They're not always, the most gifted, but they are they are the least likely to give up. And so, what is that quality that you can track in the most successful people? And that shared quality is grit,
Mhm.
their willingness to continue in any kind of circumstance, no matter what it is that they face. So what do you think that we are doing, not doing, um, as a society, as teachers, as parents? What do you think is happening that there are so many kids who so easily give up?
This is a multifaceted, question, and I'll tell you, there's no easy answer because
No.
there's a lot of things that we do, we've talked about the idea of learned helplessness, where if they don't immediately get something uh, in regards to work, your hand immediately goes up. And I had this activity that I did with my students where we were looking up Supreme Court justices that I kind of handpicked, the 9 that are currently on the Supreme Court, as well as important ones, Sandra Day O'Connor, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Antonin Scalia, like ones that were, you know, powerhouse figures, right? Thurgood Marshall. Okay. And I gave them resources to look at. And the resources that I gave them were government websites, there were encyclopedia entries, there were things that I gave them that they could go to and look. And I had them answer specific questions about each Supreme Court justice. And a lot of it is if the answer is not jumping off the page and doing the Macarena for them, they are not willing to put forth the extra effort to find the answer or look for the value or paraphrase on their own. Like it has to be word for word. And I kept saying, did you read this? Well, no, well, then sit down and read it because you will find it if you go and sit down and read it. I tried to like talk to them about like, this is what like the dipping our toe in the water of what research looks like. I wasn't even asking them to find the websites themselves. I was giving them to them. I was saying like,
because that's a
here's the
whole
thing.
other beast. Yeah.
It's a whole other beast. Like I wasn't going to get to that because I didn't have that kind of time. But I wanted to make sure that, I gave them the right resource. And there were so many kids that just either gave up or handed in a crappy product or didn't put in the effort because they had to do that little bit extra. And I don't know I don't want to go back to the pandemic. Be like, is it a pandemic thing?
No.
Like, is it a parenting thing? I don't know. But I've been, you think it's a parenting thing?
I think it's a huge component.
Okay. I'd love to know your thoughts too, because
Yeah.
I do as well.
Yeah.
And I wish that I had an answer, but I think that there's a little bit of a devaluing of what we do in the classroom where students are not they're expected to get, great grades on everything. And they're expected to get hundreds on everything that they do. But that's sometimes learning comes from mistakes. Learning comes from missteps. Learning comes from when you don't find success in something.
Yeah.
There are life lessons. I do this lesson with my students where I put up pictures of famous people and we talk about like famous failures. And of course, one of the major ones is Michael Jordan, right? The guy's cut from his freshman high school basketball team because the coaches says he wasn't good enough. And Steve Jobs was fired from Apple, the company that he created, and then the company went in the toilet, and then they rehired him back as CEO. And Walt Disney, I think, was a marketing job, I think. He was fired from his first marketing job because he was told he wasn't creative enough. Like, are you kidding? Like,
can you imagine the moment though, like as Steve Jobs?
Yeah.
Like when he rolled back into that company?
Yeah.
That must have been a great moment.
No, it must have been. And then,
hey, suckers, I'm back.
Yeah. Lady Gaga, like people in high school posted, like they had a MySpace page that had her real name, which I don't remember what it was. And it was like, why she will never be successful or she'll never be famous. And like all the people in her high school joined up. And instead of going into their shell, they basically said, okay, well, F all you people.
Right.
I'm going to work harder and practice more basketball. I'm going to, I'm going to keep working in the technology field and create something great. I'm going to, create the most recognizable brand in human history.
Yeah.
When we talk about Disney, like you have to use these things, setbacks as springboards. There's a young man that I just talked to, is who he is, who goes to our school, like applied to one of those academies and didn't get in and got waitlisted. And I had that conversation with him. I pulled him aside and him and I talked, and I said, I don't want to talk religion with you, because I had this young man, he's a very nice kid. I said, there is a path that you're going to be on, and these things need to be the motivation for you to be successful. It shouldn't stop you from the path you want to go on. It should be like, okay, that door closed, but there is a door somewhere else that is open for me. I just don't see it yet. And we're also talking about 7th and 8th graders. Like that's what we deal with all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is very hard to put them in that mindset because it is immediate, instant gratification right now.
Right.
I think that there's a parenting component. I think there's a huge technology component because if we are not entertaining and, you know, dancing in class and giving them all this information, through creative ways, they immediately shut down. They're used to getting, unlimited hits of dopamine by opening their devices and seeing all that all the time. And if they don't get that, they're like, "Oh, this is boring. I'm just going to close my eyes."
Yeah.
Meaning like metaphorically.
Yeah. So, the book that I had referenced earlier was written by Angela Duckworth. There's lots of TED Talks and things, from her as well. And she defines this personality trait as a combination of perseverance and passion for long-term goals, characterized by a sustained effort and resilience in the face of challenges. So the idea here is, how do you foster the idea in each individual child?
Mm,
How do you really teach them or show them the importance of this? So, are you tenacious? Are you determined? I know a lot of people say, like, oh, it's not the setback, it's the get up, or, there's like 1,000 ways to say the same thing. But are we as teachers prioritizing that idea
yeah.
for kids, and a lot of what we do in school and the model of school, it lacks passion.
Mhm. I
It's
used
like, because it's the same, like, repeating certain subjects, and it's, certain ideas, and it's like, well, I'm not really interested in this. So it is difficult to become really, passionate about something that you are not necessarily interested in. How
Mhm.
do you teach the importance of, even if it's not something that immediately sparks a flame, how do you get it, to sort of get some interest going for that?
That's a great question. I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
Um, I also used to do I used to do an activity and which I got from one of my fraternity brothers, and he did this in a seminar with us, and I really liked it, and I kind of adapted it to do something, with my classes where we would list some successful people on the board, athletes, famous people, business leaders, whatever. And then we would basically go through and like talk about, okay, what qualities do they have? And they would talk about all those things that they're determined, that they're hardworking, that they're educated, that they're this, blah, blah, blah. And 90% of the things that we would put on the board, I would go down and I'd look at that 10% and say, okay, so they're wealthy. I was like, okay, so this is something that they need to do. Like, okay, so they have a college degree. So like we can get to that later. But all these other things, determined, hardworking, perseverance, attitudes. They're all attitudes. They're not anything. It's a mindset. There's not anything that you need to do differently except change your mindset and go, I'm going to then push through and do this extra thing.
Right.
I'm going to put forth the extra effort. I'm going to do the little bit extra. If I wanted to get a B in algebra 2 in high school, I had to have a tutor 3 days a week. I had to go during my lunch, couldn't sit with my friends, met with a young man who was a year older than me, wound up being a like nice dude. Um, Someone who helped me like pass my algebra class, right? Because I just needed that extra prep, that extra help. I had to put forth the extra effort, right? But you're asking a great question. There's a lot of this like, "Man, I just didn't do that. I
Right.
just
It's
didn't do
like,
it."
oh, the thing I just didn't do.
Like, "Ah,
But
it was hard."
right, it was hard. So what is the difference between kids who will continue? So some of it is that they, how do you foster that? So setting goals, reaching a goal, setting small goals, attainable goals, reaching the goal, and then the minute that you do that, what's your next goal?
Oh, yeah.
And then the next one, and
Mhm.
then the next one. But I do believe that some of this must be tied into support and the systems of support and self-esteem.
Yeah.
And
You have to build that small success, and that's what I do in the
yes,
executive function coaching that I do,
you have to
where
feel that success and
we
then
talk
want to
about
keep going.
yeah, and we build like small steps in like, okay, for the next 3 days before we meet next, okay, we will we're going to set a goal that you're going to achieve. So when I work with my executive function students, we set small measurable goals. So if we meet on a Monday and a Thursday, I'll say, okay, let's look at your schedule. Let's see if we can check a box and find the production time you need to complete your homework. Let's schedule a time to get your homework done. Because a lot of the parents that I deal with are like, my kid waits till the last minute. They never write this down. They're like, do you have homework? No, I don't have homework. No. 10:30 comes along. Oh, wait, I had an assignment I had to do. And then we're pulling out the work and we're doing it then. And part of me wants to say at that point, you need to have a cutoff and say, if you come to me at 10:30 saying you have a homework assignment, that's a you problem. I'm not going to sit down and do it with you. I know how this sounds.
I
I'm not
wouldn't
gonna
even be awake at 10:30, so
I know there's
you
that.
wouldn't get me. I mean,
There's that too,
no.
right?
Yeah,
It's like there's a cutoff. After 9 p.m., it is a you problem,
right.
okay? And I don't a lot of parents are not willing to, "Oh, then they'll get a bad grade and then they'll blah, da, da, da." And a lot of times, like, that needs to happen too. Like, the parent needs to be a little bit, like, you know,
You mean
stronger in
say
their
no?
yes, you mean say no. Exactly. And I think that parents don't wanna be the bad guy, so then we sometimes have to become the bad guy.
Right, they wanna make school the bad guy,
Yes.
and it's really very difficult because what they can accomplish with, how many kids it's like the average family has 2 or 3 kids. So, a couple of adults.
I'm sorry.
What?
My wife was
Is he
just
back?
sneaking in my no, Tracy was just sneaking in here like, "Doo doo doo doo, doo doo, doo 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 doo, doo doo, doo 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 doo," and she, like, grabbed her pencil case, and she was looking at me like, "I'm leaving this.
That was a good impersonation of her.
I'm leaving this in because that was great."
It was great.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You actually
No,
were making a very good point, and it was
that's
serious, and I'm sorry.
that's all right.
So, let's go back to that. We're doing it
No,
live,
yeah,
people.
we're going for it. No, that idea of, like, saying, "You're the parent," or, "I chose to have you, and now I'm gonna give you my full attention,"
Mhm.
which sometimes in school is really hard to do. As much as we build relationships, as much as we want to know something about every kid, as much as we try to I try to really, really, like, look at their faces and be able to determine, like, are they having a good day? Can I recognize when they're having a terrible day? You know what I mean? But I have 100 kids. In my home, there are 3. I know I don't have to study my kids' faces,
Yeah.
And so sometimes I think that is a disadvantage for kids because, the ratio is so much lower in the home that if they could really, you know, sit with them, talk to them about what the roadblocks might be or what the challenges might be, then things would get accomplished. And also there's the other side of, like, you just didn't do it, right?
Yeah.
So we've talked about that also. You just didn't do it. So what? There's
Well,
no consequence. That's the other thing. It's like
that's the
there's
other
no
thing.
consequence in your house?
That's the other thing too. There's, another young man that I work with, and he's a very nice kid, but you know what? I'm not putting this on him. Like, I think it's on the school. Like, some of the teachers have this policy where they, like, you can just hand anything in at any time and get full credit for it. And it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, you're just giving them an out all the time. So he's got, like, this practice thing he has to do, and, like, you always get credit for it at the end of the marking period. And he's expected to do it because mom expects him to do it. And number one rule, if mom ain't happy, no one's happy. So we're
Yeah.
doing what mom says. Um, and that needs to be completed. But when there's no penalty, it's like, I just didn't do it this weekend. Like, I was sleeping, I was hanging out, and then blah, blah, blah. And then it becomes like, well, you didn't do this, and now you have to. It's marked late, but I know you're not going to get a late grade, but you need to do it. And the kid's like, well, I'm going to get to it eventually.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong because, like, there's no penalty for him not handing the thing in.
Right.
So there's that. And I go back again when I first start working with kids about setting those small measurable goals. So if I'm meeting with you on a Monday and then on a Thursday, like, okay, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday before we meet, when are you going to do your homework? Well, Tuesday I got this and Wednesday I got that. So I'll do my homework at 5 o'clock each night because I'm going to come home. I know I got that time. That's my production time. I'll come home. And then we meet and we talk about, did you do that? Yes. Great. We just succeeded 3 days in a row. Now, next week, let's start on Monday and let's make it all the way to Friday. Let's see if we can do it.
Right.
Okay. And then I talk to them constantly about if you're going to form a habit, if you're going to change practice, on average, it takes 66 days to form a habit, whether it's eating right, exercising, any of those things. That's the number that someone came up with, whatever research there is, right?
Yeah.
And it might,
If you want to form half a habit, it's 28 days.
yes. So it's just it's like, I don't know. There's no easy answer, but a lot of the parents and the schools, because we don't want to hear from parents, like, oh, they got bad grades and they're calling and they're coming in and then blah and like I get that too, like from the school perspective.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that I work with. It's like, oh, I'll accept it. Oh, I got them to hand in all their work at the end of the marking period, so now I can pass them. That they didn't learn anything. All they learned was that they can wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, and you'll allow them to hand something in and then still pass them in that class. And there is a quote that I actually sent to you the other day that is perfect for this, and it's from Desmond Tutu, who a person on Instagram had posted, and it says, and I love this. I want to
Marry it.
I want to tattoo it on my arm. We need to stop pulling people out of the river. We need to go upstream and find out why they're falling in. And I'm like, oh, it's like I must have read that like 10 times before I sent it to you. And I was like,
Yeah.
damn, number one, I'd never heard that before earlier this week. But like, we are not doing anything if we're not going back and saying, why is this happening in the first place? I'm a big believer in like things being uniform for kids at this age too.
I'm going to tell you a couple of early theories that I have.
Everybody does it differently.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry I'm rambling, but
a couple of theories that I have that are big contributing factors to a lot of children being like, because it's like, well, we see more and more kids being less and less excited or excitable, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, God, you're a kid. Like, why are you not like pump it up? Like, you should be more excited. Anyway, I had my daughter had this teacher, and she always said, play is a child's workplace. I do believe that part of this is tied into pushing and doing things too early before we are developmentally capable of doing it.
For example,
For example, like we want kindergartners to be reading at a level D by the time that, and it's like,
a bunch of BS.
Why are we
swear
doing
to God,
that?
I am by no means, and I know how I sound. I am by no means an expert, but like, come on.
You are.
Yep. Oh, okay.
You are.
You know how I kindergarten, not in
but
kindergarten.
You know how I stand. You know where I stand about this. Like you're
Yeah.
working in a profession that you've been educated in with a master's degree for 26 years, 30 plus years with your years of study. You are.
Okay.
So
I
thank
appreciate
you.
that.
I tell every teacher that I meet, and no matter where we are or what they say, and I people say this all the time, like I'm not an expert. Yes, you are. You are an expert. You are. And that goes for Joe, for me, for anyone that's doing what we do. Yes, you are. But the idea of, taking away recess, taking away that's movement, taking away play, like play and discovery and learning how to mitigate issues with other kids, figuring it out on their own.
Yeah.
All of those things. And then, think about third grade, right? I was kicking it with Mrs. Delorier. She was amazing. My favorite thing was every Friday, she would read to us a chapter from Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing. And she even did the voices. And I can I can feel how I felt listening to her read to us. It was such a simple, highlighted moment. We were maybe 2 or 3 days of CAT testing. Remember the California Achievement Test?
Oh yeah,
CAT
I
test?
remember.
Right? And that was it. Like it wasn't, you didn't like prepare and wait and go. So we're now, yes, we obviously we progress and we learn and we grow, but at the cost of the kids at this point in time, it doesn't seem like, isn't that a movie? Like, are the kids all right? Or the kids are all right?
Yeah.
Are they? Because
we also go back to, I know I'm talking about the district that I work in, and I am proud to both work, and I was educated in, and I now work in the district that I grew up in. I live
you're
in
a
the community.
lifer.
I live in the community that, that I grew up in. I take pride in that. I wanna make this a great experience for the kids that I teach in my classroom, but
Yeah.
also I wanna make my community a better place, the more you know, dun, 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 the star flies over
Mhm.
my head.
Yes.
But, like, we change we and I'm not trying to be critical of decisions that are made above me because, it's trickle down economics, right? It comes from the state, then goes to here, then goes to there, and it comes down. And I'm sure there's more moving parts than I know. But we change the schedule. We go to 6 periods. We add electives. Most of those electives are academic based electives: journalism, creative writing, graphic novel, all ones that are academically based. And granted, there's an infrastructure problem with this. There's no wood shop, there's no cooking, there's no this, there's
Right.
no that. We have gym class where, whatever it is, once a week, twice a month, that they take the whole day and they sit and they do these SEO lessons sitting in the
Right.
floor working out of a workbook. Let them run around outside and play a game. Let
Right.
them play kickball. Let them go outside with their friends. Let them go out on the turf in the back. I'm not saying the phys ed teachers
How
don't,
are
but
you
they wanna
going
do that.
to right, and how are you going to develop a sense of like, a true sense of self-worth or even just, work on your ability to persevere in anything if
Yeah,
you aren't really given an opportunity to feel genuinely successful in an area, any
yeah.
area,
And
regardless?
I know I keep going back to the students that I work with, but it was a young man, very high achieving young man, and he gets stressed out sometimes, and I can kinda feel it when he is. And I always tell him, like, "Hey, man, I ain't taking it personally. Like, I know you're stressed out. I know you're frustrated. I know you're not frustrated with me because we have him and I have a good relationship. Um, but like, I also know, like, when he's having a stressed out time. At the same time, we were talking about his schedule for next year, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna take ceramics again." I'm like, "Oh, like, do you like it?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm not a huge fan of it, but like, it's a class where I don't have to think, and I could just
Mm,
go in and like relax a little bit and do something." And it turns out which he didn't tell me, but we've been working together for a long time. Like he has an app that he uses to like make his own music. It's not GarageBand, but it's like some other app. He's
mhm,
like, yeah, I just find it very relaxing, and I make my own beats. And he wrote a podcast. Shout out to podcasts for
mhm.
the Friday Night Lights book that they read, and they had to like talk about the book and the racial implications. Great little. I thought actually him and his group members did a great job. They stuck to their topic. His music was the music in the podcast. Like, he made his
Oh,
own, like, little
wow.
little
Theme
beat and
song.
underneath it was
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was it was awesome.
I love
Like,
that.
unless you're it's so frustrating
So we
to
need
me.
more opportunities to be able to
Be a k like
expose them to yes,
Yeah, and it's like they
simplicity.
have a art class, they have coding. No offense to coding, not every kid wants to code. Like, they have robotics, not every kid is into that. Like,
Right.
I understand that they're trying to do all these academic things, but there is nothing that they have to have any kind of release of energy,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of our Movement Monday, like, the things that we do, but, like, that kinda got ruined by too many people walking outside. Like,
Oh, I love it. I was
listen,
dancing. I dance every week. We
I
dance
was
every week.
and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna take the credit. I'm the OG, okay? I texted our boss and said, "Can I take them outside for a walk?" And she said, "Yes." And I was the first one to go. So I was the Christopher Columbus of doing this. And I really, really enjoyed those walks because I would go like
Why
front
why don't you do it again?
well, because we were told that we can't because too many people were going outside and
Oh,
kids were coming back in rambunctious because they weren't being properly supervised.
great.
So, rightfully so, she ended it. But
Yeah.
I really love those walks. It gave me an opportunity. Like, "Hey, how was your weekend? What'd you do? Oh, you had soccer?" Like, I talked to kids. I had
Maybe
one
you can
girl.
go in the courtyard.
Yeah, I probably can. I had one girl that I would talk to, she's not in our building anymore, but I would ask her, like, weird questions. It's like, "If you could have any non-exotic, or you could have any non-traditional animal as a pet, what would you have?" She's like, "Axolotl." And I was like, "Axel what now?" I like, "Axl Rose? You wanna sing Sweet Child of Mine?" I have no idea what you're talking about. So I didn't know what it was, and then she explained it, and then we looked it up, and we were talking about it, and we laughed about it, and it was, like, such a cute little moment, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have had that if we didn't go on those walks because I don't have that time in class. I sometimes don't have that luxury. Like, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed doing that, you know? And it also is a great activity to do, to get out, walk.
Well, I say you should persevere and try it again. Get out in the quad, do something else.
I'm gonna get permission because I live my life by two main rules. Do what women tell you and don't tell women what to do. And it has served me very well in my life thus far.
So I guess we'll continue on to try to figure out exactly, some more ways to solve or dig into some solutions or some things to make it better, because that's what we're all about. But it certainly is an issue, and it is definitely something that another thing that educators face in their day to day of trying to inspire, and educate, and also foster student independence, growth, and grit.
Yeah. I really. What was the name of the book again that you referenced for our listeners in case they're interested? What was the name of that?
Grit. Grit by Angela Duckworth.
By Angela Duckworth.
Grit. It's called Grit.
I actually and
if you're not a reader, check out her TED Talk because it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think I might. I think I just might do that. So
you might do
all right.
that, yeah.
As always, my friend, I appreciate you very much.
And I appreciate you and your salmon shirt.
Yes, salmon. I'm going to go have an almond cookie and go to bed.
There you go.
All
right.
Well, thanks a lot again, and we'll see you next time on Balancing Act Podcast.
Bye.
Look for the Balancing Act Podcast every week on your favorite podcast platform. New episodes drop every Tuesday. Thank you for being a part of our audience. We appreciate you.